Hello, it's a beautiful day, so I'm going to be spending it inside my shed, showing you how to make things with lolly sticks. So, as promised, this time we're going to be looking at bits of wood and the fun you can have. So I've got a couple of little projects, just some nice kind of really easy things to dip your toe in with. So I've got a ladder here, which is useful basically in any kind of skirmish game when you want people going up things or coming down things, and general ladder stuff, or if you're planning a diorama of window cleaners. I've got something I made for Warcry here, just a nice simple barricade with some chains and weird Celtic symbols and skulls and things on it. So I'm going to show you how to make that. And as well as that, I've got here a watchtower. So this is really, really easy to make. Something that you can do just in about half an hour of messing around with a bit of wood glue. And I'm going to show you how. So there's a little ramp here as well to go up. So it's nice that we've got a ramp. So it doesn't matter whether you've got feet or tentacles or some sort of motorized motorcycle leg thing in the 41st millennium. You can still get to the top of the watchtower and have a bit of a play. So I'm going to show you how to do the ladder first of all, because that's a nice, simple, easy thing to dip your toe in with. Now, materials-wise, it's the easiest thing in the world. You're just going to need, from some of our old friend, Gorilla Glue, or just any wood glue will do. I'm using Gorilla Glue because I like it. And you're going to need some lolly sticks. Now, lolly sticks, the easiest way to source them is from a lolly, but you're going to need to eat hundreds of them to get the amount you need. So I would humbly suggest Poundland, which do 100 lollies sticks for £1. Or there's Amazon, where I got 1,000 for £8. So you save a little bit by buying in bulk, so yeah, you've got options. Now, it is going to be obvious that you're using lolly sticks. Again, you're not fooling anyone, but, make it look as good as you can. Now, what you're going to want to do is just using clippers. That was a satisfying noise. Just clip the ends off, just like that. Use a pair of clippers that you're not too fussed about the quality. Because I play Necromunda and Warcry, the nice thing is this doesn't have to be too neat. If you're making a ladder for, I don't know, Dwarven Mine or something like that, then you're probably going to want to spend a little bit more time making sure that it's both equidistant and all the rest of it. Now, what we've got here is got 2 ladder rungs. So we're going to keep that about, kind of equal, make sure that that's level. Now, what you're going to want to do is put a thin, just a little tickle of Gorilla Glue just along the edges here. Now there's no points for being stingy, so but there you go, don't waste too much glue, and just want to. That is too much glue, but just make sure that it's all covered like that. Now, so with some more lolly sticks, you're going to want to measure the distance between the two, so that's about there. Right, so nice and easy, snip. There you go, and then pop. There we go. But what you can do to make it, I'm going to make this look a little bit more ramshackle. So as you can see, just snip at the bottom, and bend that, and then snap it, which will give a slightly rougher look to it. Whoopsie. Dropped that there, butterfingers. Again, and then just pop that down there. And then what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to repeat that process a couple of times. That's a satisfying noise, isn't it? Now the other thing you can do as well is, broken steps. Don't be afraid. If you're doing something with Warcry or Necromunda, have a couple of broken steps, because I know that I bang on about this quite a lot. So I'm just going to scoop up some of that glue there. But having a couple of broken steps just adds the danger of the terrain. Because terrain should always tell a story. There should be a reason why each thingamajig is on the board. It shouldn't just be there just to kind of fill some space. There should always be a reason why there is an electronic plant there, or why there's some kind of big, horrible thing of goop. So what I'm basically trying to bang on about here is make sure that your terrain actually has some sort of rhyme and reason to it. So with this ladder, it is just going to be a ramshackle siege ladder that someone's got so they can go up and down the barricades there. There you go. So, and again, don't be too neat. Don't worry about it too much. There's no prizes for neatness here. There you go. So there we go. So we've got ourselves a ladder there. So we're going to leave that to dry. And in the meantime, I'll show you how to make a couple of other bits and bobs. Right, while we're waiting for the ladder to dry, I thought I'd show you how to make this watchtower here. Watchtower, shantytown, platform, gazebo, whatever you want to do with it. It's fine by me. Right, so you're going to want 12 lolly sticks with the ends trimmed off. Right, so just lay those down in a sort of square fashion, like this. Now again, it doesn't have to be precise, if some of them are a couple of millimetres off, you know what, it's not the end of the world. Well, it might be the end of the world. I don't know what you're going for at the moment. This might be a deeply personal issue for you, which carries a lot of deep consequences. That probably goes beyond my remit as some guy on YouTube. So, let's line those up. Da-da-da-da-da. So as you can see, they're all lined up neatly in a row. Again, I'll just move those forward a bit there. Now, what you need to do here is get them all sort of level. So poke them together. Dispose of any stray little bits of wood you find. There we go, and you should sort of get them in a kind of sort of straight-ish position, as long as they're all lined up and the planks are relatively tight together. That's the only thing that matters. Now, what you're going to need now is 4 more lolly sticks with the ends cut off. So 4 more. And then what you're going to do with these is you're going to coat them like that. Again, don't bother about being too neat. It's all going to sort itself out in the end. And then put it down flat like that. There we go. So you're topping and tailing this. And lolly sticks are not going to be perfectly straight, and they're not going to be perfectly matched up. So it doesn't matter too much. The warpedness adds to its charm. And then the other thing you do as well is go diagonal. So that gives it a little bit more strength, and also we're going to want it diagonal when we put the legs on. There we are. And then for this next bit here, we're going to go corner to corner there. So just measure that just by eye, snap that bit off. And then a little bit more like that. Then just make sure that every plank has at least 2 points of contact with a bit of glue. Now, you're going to want to make sure that there is enough space in each corner for, well, I'll show you in a second, but just trust me for the next kind of few seconds, just please do trust me that there needs to be a little bit of space. There we go. I'm just going to pop another one here just to kind of enforce that a bit. Reinforce, that's what I meant. Now, you're going to want to get 5 uncut lolly sticks. So there we go, just going to tilt that a little bit so you can get a better view. There we go, so 5 uncut lolly sticks. And just... and then sandwich that together with the next one. And then you don't need a lot of glue, just a drizzle of glue for this. I'll do. seems like these two are already stuck together somehow. So let's break them apart and then stick them back together again. There we are, so stick them together, and you want to get these lined up. Lined up as kind of precisely as you can, but again, it doesn't matter too much if they're a little bit warped and they don't stack exactly precisely. Now, the reason why we're using uncut lolly sticks for the legs is because we'd need them to be exactly the same length. Unlike the top or this bit here or the underside here, it doesn't matter whether it's a little bit off there, but for the legs, you need them to all be the exact same length. So there we are. Here are the other ones I did earlier. Now, we're going to wait for that to dry and get really strong. So, take about an hour or so. So potter off, make yourself a cup of tea, watch some better videos on YouTube, whatever, and we'll be back in just a moment. Right, so the next thing I want to show you is how to make a ramp. So you can see that's a nice, easy way for you to get to the top of a platform. Just, run up here. There we go. And I'm going to show you how to do that with some more lolly sticks. So again, these ones you need the ends cut off. And get 3 of them there. 3 of them together. Just like that. And then you need to drizzle a little bit of glue just on the end there. And then lining up next to them, some more. Try and get the ends relatively straight, but again, doesn't matter too much. And then you want a little bit of glue, splash that around there. Right, and then what you do is you get some more here to reinforce the underside of the ramp. There you go, you can see that's oozing over quite horribly. Right, so we've got that there. Now we leave that to dry, and then when that's dry, I'm going to show you how to make it into a bendy ramp like that. Let's see, so that's about the right same length. Doesn't matter too much. Right, okay, let's leave that to dry, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. Right, while we are waiting for the glue to dry, I'm going to show you how to make this, which is a barricade for Warcry, or any other fantasy game that you feel like. Or if you leave off the chains and the skulls and the chaos symbol, I suppose you could use it for some of the slightly slimier areas of Necromunda if you want. Or, an Orc Fortress, or whatever. It's a useful thing to be able to have, and a nice thing to be able to put in your terrain box. So, let's see how we can make it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a base here. So you can see this part of the terrain there. Now, what you're after is a firm foam. So this is the stuff that I'm going to use, which is LD45. So if you're a LARPer, you're already familiar with this. It's the stuff your swords are made out of. If you're not a LARPer, it's the stuff that LARPers make their swords out of. Now, what you want is you want to use the flat edge of the foam. So don't use this, which is the rough bit, which I've used for other projects. Use this part here so that it will sit flatly on the table like that. Now, you are going to want a nice sharp knife to do this with. So you're going to want to cut around about the same width for that really. So about 1 inch. Now again, the bottom needs to be flat, but the top bit not so much. I'm just going to cut that out there. There we go. So it's about the same length. Right, so whenever you're working with foam, try to make sure that you're just getting as many things possible in one kind of nice smooth cut. Because if you can get it in one smooth cut, then you avoid those horrible jagged bits. There we go. Oh, that's satisfying. There we go, so we cut that down there. And we should have a piece of foam. So we've got our piece of foam here, which is I want them the same length, so I'm just going to cut that down a little bit, if that's all the same to you. There we go. Right, so it's the same length as that one there. Now, this looks artificially blocky because it's a block of foam. So what we're going to do is we're just going to shave it down a little bit. So again, using a very, very sharp knife, or you can use a scalpel or a hobby knife or anything of that nature. Again, this bit here doesn't have to be too neat, and don't have to be fussed too much about getting bits on there. But you want a bit of a flat bit at the top, and that should become self-explanatory in just a moment. Right, there we go. So saw that bit of the foam off there, like that. And then, not too much, but take a diagonal bit off the ends. And then another diagonal bit off the end there. And then tum. Now, save these bits of foam, because you never know when they're going to come in handy. You can use bits of foam for loads of things. You can cut them up and use them as rocks, if you want something sculpted particularly to your likeness. Now, LD45 is a nice firm foam. It's the type of foam that's found in, the kneeling mats that you get at garden centres. So, one of those, that will do you. Or certain electronics, when you buy them, they use LD45 inserts. So that's one there that I've got in my big pile of foam pile. And then what we want to do here is just kind of avoid any smooth bits here. So with a sawing motion with your blade, just go back and forth along the flat edges. Obviously not the edge that's going to be in contact with the tabletop. We want that to be flat. What we're going for here is the look of a bank of soil that someone has made and then has hammered in a bunch of impressive looking fence posts in to act as a barricade. Okay. Now, the other reason why you want it slightly rough is that when you paint it up, it will look much, much better if it's a bit rough around the edges. So, there we go. So we've got a nice kind of bank of earth there. Then final things you want to do is just take off the corners at the end. Now, don't go too crazy with this because we want to maximise the amount of fence postable surface here. And then what you're going to want to do is whittle the fence posts. So start with just a lolly stick like this, and then what you need to do is just gently put your thumb on the back of the blade. There we go. Yeah, and hopefully you can see that there. So gently make that pointy. Now this pointy bit is going to be the bit that goes into the foam. So what we do with the rest of it is just very, very gently whittle along the edges of the lolly stick, because that way it looks more like a plank and less like a lolly stick, which is our main objective here, to make things look less like the things that they actually are, such as the nature of all deception. Right, there we go. And then at the top here, just spike and spike. And there we've got a perfectly serviceable little post there. So just tuck that in there. Now, something I've learnt to my peril is do not keep on taking it out and putting it back in again. Because once it makes a hole in the foam, then if you take it back out again, then it will wobble around and it will be loose. Now, you can see here in advance I've made a load of other posts. Now, some are more spiky than others. Again, that's deliberate because we don't want it to be too uniform. But what I would say is make sure that they're not too spiky to the extent that when you're playing a game you're going to impale your hand on it. Yeah, came very close to doing that there myself. So line them up and make sure that they're level. Now there are going to be gaps, that adds character. So keep that in there, because this is Chaos, and Chaos has a notoriously slapdash approach to any building projects it's involved in. Yeah, there's a reason why the elves and the dwarves and all that tend to have far nicer terrain and architecture. But then if I wanted fancy terrain, then I wouldn't be playing Chaos. So there we go, and then just poke that in like that. Right, so that's all sorted now. We've got an assembled fence barricade, and then with a little bit of wood glue, just put a generous slide along both sides. As well as that, where the fence panels overlap, just give it a bit of a bit there. Now that just means it's just going to be a little bit more sturdy, and just give it that little bit more resilience. There we go. So we're going to wait for this to dry, then I'll show you how to tart it up a little bit. Right, good news by the way, I found the little foam thing that goes on the end of the microphone, so the sound will be back to its normal, admittedly fairly appalling quality, but it's better than it was for the last few minutes of the video. Right, so it's been a whole while, and what I've done is I've put these legs in place here, and I'm using a couple of bits of foam just to support them for the watchtower now. Just going to put a little bit of glue just in the corners of each one. And now I'm just going to wait for a wee moment for it to dry. Okay, I've waited for a wee moment, it is now dry. There we go, so. Ta-da! But as you probably noticed, the legs do look somewhat ridiculous. Just the way that those oval shapes there. Now, compare and contrast to the other one that we did, which hopefully you can get that foam out of the way. You can see there the bottoms of the feet. They sit nice and flush and flat against the tabletop, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, the way we do that is with some of our old friend Gorilla Glue, but the normal Gorilla Glue, not the wood Gorilla Glue. Again, this video is not endorsed or sponsored. Base of each leg on the watchtower. Now, when this dries, it will look like its cousin there on the left. Because the Gorilla Glue is going to expand and give the effect of a sort of a grim, mouldy, what's the best way to describe it? Like some sort of fungus or rot or some sort of mould growing on the watchtower, which is what I'm kind of after there. Yeah, so kind of decayed, rotting wood, which again, it's all about, as I keep on banging on about, it's all about danger. Will this watchtower support their weight? Will they come crashing down? Something interesting. Something that adds a bit of drama to the movement. Right, so the Gorilla Glue has dried, and you can see here it's spread out along the bottom. Just took a bit of a flick with a chisel to get off the table, which is why you want to do this on a nice flat surface that you don't care too much about. And so now this has given it a nice stable platform for the table. So when you put models on top, they're not going to fall off, and the whole thing is a little bit more sturdy. So I'm now going to show how to do this ramp here. So if you remember, we made a nice flat thing here, so now I need to make it a nice bendy thing. And the way you do that is really simple. Just very, very gently bend each of the planks in turn. There we go, just like that. So don't snap them off, just bend them nice and gently, just like that. And then you need to get them so that they're level, like this. Now, there we go. So then you find the right angle, make sure that it's the right angle that will fit with the, there we are. And then, once you've got it all relatively straight and level, and again, this doesn't have to be perfect, so please don't lose any sleep over it, is we just give it a bit of a going over, just to reinforce it with some Gorilla Glue. Right, so you pop the Gorilla Glue just on this edge there and along the top, and that'll just mean that it's still a bit stronger. Okay, and then just at the top here as well, just to join the planks up. Da 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 da, and again on the other side. Da 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 da. Right, so we're going to pop this back here to dry. So now comes the fun bit. We're going to be tarting up our barricade. So on this little embankment of earth here, I'm going to be using Astro Granite Debris, which is a texture paint from Games Workshop. So, you know, again, no need to be neat with this. You can use any texture paint you like, however. There you go. Just get that brushed on there. Yeah, nice, and make sure you get to all the little bits and bobs of the foam. Right, that's been all painted on, so what we're going to do now is we're going to glue on a few rocks. Now, I've chosen specifically some rather useful types of rock here, which are light-coloured rocks with lots of porous surfaces. And the reason why I've done that will be apparent in just a moment. But you just want to glue on a few of these just at the base here, just because it breaks up the look of the barricade. Right, so let's just stick a few of them on like. Now the next thing we're going to do, because this is Chaos, and if there's one thing Chaos loves, it's a massive excess of chains. So this stuff that I've got here is just jewellery chain. So I bought this when I was doing a Chaos Fantasy army for 8th edition, and this chain has seen me through, let's see, the Chaos Fantasy army, some Khorne Daemons, some Night Lords, and some Orcs, as well as numerous other mini projects in between that. So you don't need to buy a huge quantity. You know, this has lasted me for 4 and a bit armies. One of those armies was specifically themed around chains, so don't worry too much. Now, if you can't get hold of jewellery chain, what you can do is get hold of some jewellery and take the chain from that. So that's something you can do. Now, I think this is 0.75 millimeters long. So for 28 millimeter heroic scale wargaming, that's the exact size that we're going to be after. So don't go too crazy on the chains, but enough chains to give the impression that yes, this is Chaos, but there's no need to go absolutely mad with it. Now, the other thing I've got to, just as a finishing touch, before we move on to other bits and bobs and the final part of the tarting it up phase, is just a few skulls from the Citadel skull set, because this is a barricade, and the people behind it probably want to stick some skulls on it to show how brave they are. So I'm just going to put that on top of the rock, like that. Right, so the superglue is now dry. So I've stuck on a few extra skulls. Now again, all terrain needs to have a narrative. So think about what the barricade is used for, and of course they want to scare off rival warbands. So they've put the big scary horned skulls up on the top here. Now, what we're going to do, just to make this look a little bit less like a collection of lolly sticks rammed onto a bit of foam, is I've got here Skeleton Horde, which is a Games Workshop contrast paint. Now, do you remember I mentioned earlier about these rocks? So the reason why you go for light stones with plenty of pores on them. So don't go for smooth pebbles. Go for very rough stones. Because you can see here how they take the ink a lot better. So the pigmentation of the paint just really gets in there quite nicely. And the other thing I'm doing as well is I'm giving this foam here just a bit of a tickle with the skeleton horde. You know, not a lot, but just enough to make it a bit less matte grey. Now, the lovely thing about skeleton horde as well is that you can also use it to paint the panels of the barricade. Now, I'm using a massive brush here just because I'm being completely overly generous with this. The reason why I've got this big brush is because A, I'm lazy and I want to cover lots of surface area at a time, and B, because it's really important that you don't miss any bits, because the unpainted bits of lolly stick will, well, they'll stick out, if you pardon the pun. Right, so just make sure you really get in there, and what that will give you is it will give you the look of quite old, tatty wood that's been there for ages. Yeah, stuff that's been decaying away with a malignant touch of chaos and whatnot. And again, the Chaos Gods have got absolutely piss poor health and safety standards, so don't feel too bad about that. And the other reason why I'm using Skeleton Horde is because I can't be bothered to change brushes. I'm just going to use the same brush for everything. So what's good for the skull is good for the wood and the ground and the rocks as well. So there we go. So to deal with any pooling just by giving that a quick wipe away. And you'll obviously want to do the back of the barricade as well. But there we have it. So we've got quite a nice barricade here. Now, if you don't have Skeleton Horde, don't worry. Because what you can do is just with any black acrylic paint and a bit of water, you can get some watery black acrylic paint. And over here, I've got what that will look like. So I've got this the guard tower here, and I've got the ladder. So you can see the watered down black acrylic paint will swiftly produce results of aging, decayed wood. So it's a really good way to kind of add a bit of grime and grit to your gaming table. And alright, I've been really looking forward to doing this. Got the two guard towers together. Yeah, let's stick a ramp on both of them. Da-da. Da-da-da-da. And da-da! There we go. So, with a few lolly sticks, a couple of bits of foam, an overly generous amount of Gorilla Glue, you can give yourself, pretty much all the scenery you need for a game of Warcry. So next time I'm going to be showing how to paint really quickly. Someone's given me a bit of a challenge, and I'm going to be painting 5 different types of undead in 5 minutes. So I'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching and bearing with me in my slightly doddery sound and camera work. If you could leave a comment below, I'd be really grateful. All feedback, good or bad. Thanks so much. Take care.